Okay, so once again, good morning everyone. So this will be the continuation of our discussion about the introduction to project management. Now, last time, of course, we discussed the triple constraint, right? We ended to the discussion of the triple constraint. So because as what we discussed last time, that successful projects or successful project management means meeting all three goals. What are the three goals? The scope, of course, this one. Okay. So the scope, the time, and cost, and satisfying the project sponsor. However, again, quality is the quadruple constraint. Now, we may proceed to the project management. Okay, so project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. Project managers must not only strive to meet a specific scope, time, cost, and quality goals of projects, they must also facilitate the entire process to meet the needs and expectation of the people involved in or affected by project activities. So as what we have here, this will be the project life cycle. So we have the startup, cover the purpose, strategic fit, the objective. As you can see, during the startup, we just provide the draft of our scope. Then the terms of reference and draft schedule, then at the same time, the budget estimate. During planning, so we identify the scope, but it must be final. You may select your team members. You just plan the deliverables. For example, week 2, so you are eyeing to accomplish for example, the work breakdown structure and others. No? You need also to provide your quality plan, your baseline schedule, budget, risk and issues register, your business case, of course, especially the approvals of your business case and the communication plan. But during the execution, of course, production of key deliverables. Okay, so this will be the time for you to test and monitor or control the quality management, the time, cost, and risk, and issue resolution, change control reporting, and communication. Then prior to your close out, so it means to say that we're done it already with your project. So this will be the time for you to celebrate, contract close out. Of course, we need to evaluate our process, no, from the startup up to execution. So we need to get team feedback, recommendation for further action, of course, and post implementation review. Okay. Now, so I think from your third year, no, I think second year, third year, your professor already shared about the system development life cycle. So we have the software development life cycle. And we have what we call the structured approach, no? From the requirements, design, implementation, test, installation, and maintenance. And the iterative approach, of course, we have the traditional development and the rapid application development. So the iterative approach combine, no, this traditional and the RAD or the rapid application development. Now, this will be also another example of an iterative approach. So as you can see here, start from the rapid prototyping, then design the system, building stages, of course, understand the requirements, test and evaluate, then releasing the final product. So it depends upon to your software or your proposal. This is iterative and incremental development. So plan, design, develop, test, and analyze. Maybe, of course, you all also heard the word agile, no? System development. So this will be the extreme project management from start to finish. Okay. So project management using the agile methodology. So how do we will be able to compare the So please watch this video on how we'll be able to use the agile.
Hi, my name is David, and today we're going to talk about project management utilizing Agile methodology for fixed cost software projects, with a particular focus on the advantages of the Agile approach, project planning, and some pitfalls to look out for when managing such projects. So before we actually get into the Agile software development, let's first clarify how software development methodologies such as Agile fit within the broader project management framework. If we look at the Prince2 project management methodology, we can see that the project management exists at three distinct layers: project direction, which is the responsibility of the project board; project management, which is the responsibility of the project manager; and the actual delivery, which is the responsibility of the team managers. Prince2 provides great detail on what to do at the directing and managing levels, but because it is a general project management methodology applicable to all disciplines, it leaves the actual delivery methods open. So at this delivery level is where the Agile software development methodology fits. I don't see Agile as an alternative project management method to Prince2, but rather as a complement to Prince2. When it comes to software development projects, apart from the obvious goal of delivering the completed software on time, on budget, with all the required functionality, I also like to involve the stakeholders of the system as much as possible during the development process, so that 1, they truly feel they are part of the development of the system; 2, to draw upon their in-depth knowledge of the business; and 3, to provide them with a reassurance that the system's development is progressing. Without going into too much technical detail, Agile software development is where the development of a software system is broken down into a number of mini or micro projects. Each of these mini projects produces tested and functioning features, which are a subset of the overall system requirements. The process is then subsequently repeated until the system is completed. The advantage of this iterative approach to software development over a more traditional waterfall method is that it produces a fully functioning system components earlier, which in turn allows the stakeholders to review functioning components at an early stage of the project's life, and subsequently allows change requests to be made earlier on. We've adapted this Agile approach with some traditional project management methods and tools to ensure that the constraints imposed by cost, time, and functionality are still met. Although this particular method has been tailored to suit the needs of an external service provider like Picnet, I think it can still be generally applied to any fixed-term software project, even if it's developed in-house, as the same constraints apply to these projects as well. Typically, when we develop a software application on a fixed cost basis, the project follows three main stages: the analysis stage, the development stage, and the acceptance stage. Here is an example of a technical delivery plan for a software project that I managed previously. In this plan, you can see the main stages of the project. To kick off the project, we have the analysis stage. I won't go into too much detail, as this will be the subject of another video, but let's just say that this is where we set the scope, analyze the business logic, and to a lesser extent analyze the functional requirements of the system. The system requirement specification document is then produced, which is then reviewed by the customer and amended, and amendments made before the customer can sign off and before the start of any actual software coding. Our development stage is divided into a number of phases depending on the size of the project and the business requirements. Deliverables at the end of each phase is a piece of functioning software that contains a subset of the full system's functions. At the end of each phase, the customer is given a period of time to to review the software and provide feedback in key areas such as business logic, functionality, usability, and aesthetics. This feedback allows us to refine the application over the course of the development stage. To make better use of available time for a project, we normally overlap the customer review process with the next development phase so that when a customer is reviewing the developed features of one phase, the developers are already starting the development for the next iteration. Time is allocated at the end of the second and subsequent development phases to implement any changes required as a result of the customer review. In this example project, we have 2 iterations of development over a period of 6 weeks, where we increasingly add new features to the developing system until all of the functional requirements have been developed. By doing this, our customers can provide feedback to us on what they like and what they don't like about the developed features at an early stage, and hopefully pick up on any errors in fundamental business logic which can be rectified at an early stage. Also, by delivering fully functioning portions of the system to the customer, they are provided with a tangible object that they can interact with. This has 2 advantages. Firstly, it provides them with some degree of peace of mind that the project is moving forward and progressing. And secondly, small requirement details that have been missed during the analysis stage will usually be revealed when the key stakeholders of the system have had a chance to actually interact with the system. Now, some people might say that the during business analysis all functioning requirements should have been documented, but in most cases some of these requirements are not immediately apparent even to the users until they've had a chance to use the system. After the final review and rectification cycle, and after we are happy with the functionality and quality of the product, the system is then handed over to the customer to begin the acceptance stage. The acceptance stage normally consists of the customer performing the UAT, followed by a short period of fixes and tweaking of the system on any issues found during UAT. Once this is complete, the application is then theoretically ready to be accepted by the customer. As well as using the Agile iterative structure for my software development projects, we also utilize the standard tools of project management, such as project status reports, project team meetings, and change request processes. Now I would like to move on to what are some of the potential pitfalls when managing a project using this approach. The first and probably most important pitfall that a project manager must be aware of is making sure that the stakeholders or customers, in my case, understand the iterative development and review processes, and they have the resources available to do the review and provide feedback when required during the project. This is extremely important, as the iterative improvement approach of the Agile method only works if feedback is provided in a timely manner. The second pitfall to avoid is scope creep. The problem of scope creep is particularly prevalent in software projects, and the Agile method lends itself to scope creep. However, PM must tightly control any expansion of functionality and scope of the project. This is not to say that all changes to functionality should be rejected, but any expansion in functionality or project scope should be weighed against the time and budget constraints. If the customer insists on scope expansions that will cause the project to fall behind schedule, then the stakeholders must be informed of the consequences, and there must be a thorough process to document significant changes in scope. Thirdly, try to set realistic milestones for each development iteration. I generally consult with the development teams to see which functions naturally lend to being developed together, and I tend to set each iteration period to be between 2 to 3 weeks in length. Lastly, but not least, is communication with the stakeholder. Weekly project status update reports and meetings are a good way to keep the stakeholders informed of the progress of the project. Also, after each development cycle, I make it a practice to personally demonstrate the newly developed functions as well as any new fixes from the last iteration to the customer. So that's a short rundown of how I would go about managing software development projects and some tips on some potential issues to look out for. I hope you have gotten something out of it. Keep an eye out for more upcoming videos on various topics, and I'll see you later.
Grammarly does more than catch error. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words.
Okay, so as what we watch, no, that the project management tools and techniques assist the project managers and their teams in carrying out work in all 9 knowledge areas. Okay? Some popular time management tools and techniques include Gantt chart, no, as what we can see, no, the project network diagrams and the critical path analysis. Now, so how we'll be able to differentiate the agile versus waterfall? So because most commonly during your capstone project, the panels always asking, how did you choose a waterfall model rather than agile? Maybe somebody, okay, you are using an agile, but it is not fitted with your software development. So therefore, I will show you a video related to the agile versus waterfall model.
Hi! In one of my previous videos, I was talking about what is Agile. Let's take a look now at the differences between Agile and traditional way of working, also called Waterfall. Several years ago, projects were managed in Waterfall, where tasks are executed in phases, in a linear and sequential way. Progress flows downwards in one direction like a waterfall. Each of these phases represents a distinct stage, and each stage generally finishes before the next one can begin. Waterfall was organized in such a way that projects had to be finished within a certain budget, fixed scope, fixed time, and a good quality, which was almost never the case, and the customer was always unhappy. In fact, even when the project respected the budget, scope, time, and quality, the customer was still unhappy. But why? As Waterfall does not require a huge deal of customer involvement, so by the time we deliver what we thought the customer needed, it's not necessarily what he needs anymore. And because of its linear approach and its rigidness towards changes in the development of the product and the process itself, it makes it almost impossible for new ideas to be included, which clearly impacts the customer satisfaction as well as the quality of the final products. Agile came to solve these issues. With the 4 values and the 12 principles, we create things differently. In Agile, we build products incrementally and iteratively, which helps teams deliver value to their customers faster and with fewer headaches. Instead of bits, I was talking about what is Agile. Let's take a look now at the differences between Agile and traditional way of working, also called Waterfall. Several years ago, projects were managed in Waterfall, where tasks are executed in phases, in a linear and sequential way. Progress flows downwards in one direction like a waterfall. Each of these phases represents a distinct stage, and each stage generally finishes before the next one can begin. Waterfall was organized in such a way that projects had to be finished within a certain budget, fixed scope, fixed time, and a good quality, which was almost never the case, and the customer was always unhappy. In fact, even when the project respected the budget, scope, time, and quality, the customer was still unhappy. But why? as waterfall does not require a huge deal of customer involvement, so by the time we deliver what we thought the customer needed, it's not necessarily what he needs anymore. And because of its linear approach and its rigidness towards changes in the development of the product and the process itself, it makes it almost impossible for new ideas to be included, which clearly impacts the customer satisfaction as well as the quality of the final products. Agile came to solve these issues. With the 4 values and the 12 principles, we create things differently. In Agile, we build products incrementally and iteratively, which helps teams deliver value to their customers faster and with fewer headaches. Instead of betting everything on a big bang launch, an Agile team delivers work in small but consumable increments. We start with a small piece of work and we go through the design, development, testing, and deployment. The feedback from the customer and stakeholders is then collected and fed back into the cycle. With Agile, changes are welcome. The rapid delivery of the value in small increments allow teams to change their products based on customer feedback frequently and with lower costs. This helped them to keep up to date with the user's needs and the constantly evolving world. Let's take an example. Our customer needs a car to be able to go to work. If we decide to build this product in a waterfall way, we will start by defining what the ideal car should look like. After several weeks or months of thinking, and once this phase is done, we start building the car. First the wheels, then the engine, the frame, then we assemble everything and deliver it to the customer. What happens here is that during the first phases, the customer is not receiving anything for a long period of time. If we are optimistic, he is happy with the car you gave him. But the customer might say that this is not the car he was expecting, and he doesn't like this design. In this case, changing the design will be very expensive. If we decide to build this car in an agile way, we will involve the customer on a regular basis, and we will ask him for input and feedback while building his car. We can start with a minimum viable product, the least expensive product that can allow us to test our idea and for him to try it. Based on his feedback, we can improve it and add new functionalities. At the end, and as the customer was involved all the time and his feedback was acted on, we know we are delivering exactly what he expects. There is one important thing between these two ways of working. In Waterfall, we cannot stop before we deliver the full product defined at the beginning. In Agile, as we are delivering each iteration a functioning product, the customer might say that he is happy with what you just presented, and he doesn't need more. So we don't have to spend more money to add additional features that the customer doesn't need. As a summary, one of the most notable differences between Agile and Waterfall is the level of flexibility involved in each one of them. Where Agile prides itself as being an approach that is flexible and continuously evolving, Waterfall is known to be more rigid and stricter in terms of process structure. Thank you.
Okay, so now you will be able to differentiate the agile, of course, versus the waterfall model. Again, in waterfall model, there is no customer the customer can see the output right after you finish the product or the project. But in agile, every now and then, every stages, there is a what do you call this one? A participation of your target customers. No? You are always asking with him or with her every steps. No? So as you can see based on the given video, no, that for example, if the customer is already satisfied, no, from for example, you have level 1 to 5, but during the level 4, if the customer is already satisfied and no need for additional modules, so you may able to lessen the costs, the time at the same time. So this will be a good example on how we'll be able to differentiate the agile versus waterfall model. Now, the project management, again, is the application of the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the requirements. Okay? As what I mentioned earlier, the project managers strive to meet the triple constraint by balancing project scope. Again, you need to balance the scope, the time, and the costs. Of course, when we say the project cost, management involves defining and managing all the work required to complete the project successfully. For the project time, it includes estimating how long it will take to complete the work, developing an acceptable project schedule, and ensuring timely completion of the project. For that cost, of course, it consists of preparing and managing the budget for the project. And of course, as what we have in a quadruple constraint, the project quality management. It ensures that the project will satisfy the stated or implied needs for which it was undertaken. So we have the project management body of knowledge. Excuse. Now, the common project management tools and techniques by knowledge area. So this will be the framework, no, or the project management framework. So as you can see here, we have the stakeholders, needs, and expectations. Then through that, applying the nine knowledge areas, we have the core functions, the scope, the time, the cost, and quality. This will be the core. Then at the bottom, we have the facilitating functions. We need to coordinate from the human resource management with the communication management, risk management, and procurement management. Then right after that, considering the facilitating functions and the core functions, we may integrate all those things using the tools and techniques. Then we provide the project portfolio to have a project success and enterprise success. So for the integration management, of course, we have the project integration. The project selection methods or project management methodologies, stakeholder analysis, project charters, which is you are also required to create your own project charters for your project, project management plans, project management software, the change request. For example, during your initial plan, you are eyeing to adapt or to buy, for example, i5. But during the development, you decided to buy, instead of buying the computer or laptop, an i5, you must preferred i7. Okay, so therefore there is a change request, change control boards, project review meetings, and you need to create a lesson learned reports. That is for integration management. Now, for the scope management, you need to define the scope statement. You need to develop the work breakdown structure, statement of work, requirements analysis, scope management plans, scope verification techniques, and scope change control. For the time management, again and again, for time management, you need to develop a Gantt charts. You need also to create the project network diagrams as stated a while ago by our during the video, no, during the video presentation. The critical path analysis, the crashing, the fast tracking, and schedule performance measurement. For the cost management, we need to consider the net present value. Okay? Return on investment after. So, of course, if you are proposing a software, so for example, that you are going to computerize some transaction. So, therefore, there are some people who are affected with that project. Then, of course, you need to provide the return on investment. So, what will happen? If I avail 1 million software, then after 2 years, what will happen? Could I save the money? And so on. You need also to provide the payback analysis, earn value management or EVM, the project portfolio management, cost estimates, and cost management plans, and the cost baseline. Now, for the quality management, quality matrix, you need to provide, of course, the checklist, the control charts, the Pareto diagrams, the fishbone diagrams, maturity models, and statistical methods. It depends upon to your proposal. Again, sometimes it is better for us not to use the fishbone diagram. Again, the quality management depend upon your system or software. Another thing is the human resource management. Motivation techniques must be important. You need to motivate your teams, no, to finish their task based on the given timeline. Empathic listening is also important. Responsibility assignment matrices, project organizational charts, resource histograms, and team building exercises. Of course, familiarity with one another is very important. That's why the human resource department responsible to have at least a team building exercises. Especially if your team member is coming from different companies before, or they are graduated from different universities and colleges. So therefore, they have their own practices that may be or possible to share with the group for them to adopt the best practices. That is the sole responsibility of the human resource management. Then the communication management is also important, no? You need to provide a communication management plans. Kick-off meetings is also important. Conflict management, communication media selection, status in progress report, virtual communication. You need also to provide templates and project website. Again, another is risk management. Risk management plan, risk register, probability impact matrices, and risk ranking. And for the procurement management, make or buy analysis, contracts, request for proposal or quotes, source selection, supplier evaluation, and matrices. Of course, for us to determine the costs, we need to have a procurement management. In a sense that we need also to ask some quotations from different business or industry. For example, if you are eyeing 400 computers upon deployment of your software, so therefore you targeted at least with quality, for example, computers with a low price as much as possible or with discounted price. So that's why we asking for a quotations with the company. Okay, so this will be the content of our project management. So again, our discussion is more focused in these 9 areas. Okay, so this will be the project management framework. So we have a project managers and the team members. So what you're going to do, the first thing that you need to accomplish before starting your project is a project charter. So later, we will be able to discuss what will be the content of the project charter. The issue change and risk management, communication, quality assurance. Take note ha, it's just acceptance testing. Then the training. Yes, of course, right after the deployment of your software, you need to provide a training for the targeted users. So therefore, you need to provide training for them. So the management approach, best practices tools. So maybe you are familiar with this, the identify and prioritize areas for improvement. So because this will be discussed during your software engineering, right? So we have the task order. Again, you are required to develop your work breakdown structure. You need to involve your stakeholders, define success criteria, priorities, and you need to develop some strategies. So what you're going to do is plan, replan, act, monitor, report, assess, learn, then again, set goals and objectives. So we need to examine the efficiency of processes, products, or produce desired quality levels. Provide visibility into program health performance via dashboard with measures, and tailors processes for institutionalization in high-performing organizations. So the project management tools and techniques. So we have what we call super tools. Okay, so our tools that have high use and high potential for improving project success, such as software for task scheduling, scope statement, requirement analysis, and lesson learned reports. So tools already extensively used that have been found to improve project importance. Of course, the super tools can provide progress reports, kick-off meetings, Gantt charts, and change requests. So what are an example of a super tool software? We have Build Quick, BugTrack, Siloxys Project Management, ACE Project, Active Project, Build the Simplified Project Management Tool, the Copper Project, the CS Project. This will be an example of a super tools software which help you, no, to provide the different criterias or requirements to develop a software project. We have also Element Tool, Bug Tracking, EPAM Project Management Center, iLine, NJS Portal, Leading Project, Manage Pro, and Impro Web. So if you are going to develop a website or a web or internet infrastructure, so better for you to adapt the Management Pro. It depends upon to the of course with your software, no? Nico Clarity, Plan-Wise Project Management, and the MS Project and MS Project Server. This will be the most commonly used, no? This will be a licensed super tools. The MS Project is the market leader in project management software. So again, it enables project planning, resource scheduling, multiple types of diagrams and reports, project costing, project control, and project status update. Again, this will be the most commonly used and lead in a project management software today. Now, so this will be the knowledge area and this will be the tools and techniques. Okay, so from the 9 knowledge area, the integration, the scope, the time management, cost, quality, human resource, communication, risk, and procurement. So the project success, the project meet the scope, time, and cost goals. So we might say that our project was success if we meet the scope, time, cost, of course, with quality. No, the project satisfied the customer or sponsor. So right after the deployment and implementation, the target users or customer or sponsor was satisfied with your output, then the results of the project meet its main objective. So through that, we may able to consider that our project was successful. So what helps project succeed? Okay, of course, executive support is very important. No, without the support of the executive, so it's too hard for us to say that we could accomplish our project perfectly. Of course, the user involvement, of course, is also important, and so on. So the best practices: use an integrated toolbox, grow project leaders, develop a streamlined project delivery process, and measure project health using metrics. Okay, program in portfolio management. So again, we define it already, what is program and what will be the responsibility of a project manager. Because, for example, as a program, no, it is often more economical to group projects together to help streamline management, staffing, purchasing, and other work. So what we're going to consider with the programs, we need to consider the infrastructure, the application development, and the user support. Okay, then the program manager. Again, we need to take note that effective program managers recognize that managing a program is much more complex than managing a single project. They recognize that technical and project management skills are not enough because program managers must also process strong business knowledge, leadership capabilities, and communication skills. Okay, so in many organizations, the project managers also support an emerging business strategy of project portfolio management, in which organizations group and manage projects and programs as portfolio of investment that contribute to the entire enterprise success. The portfolio managers of their organization make wise investment decisions by helping to select and analyze projects from a strategic perspective. They may or may not have previous experience as program managers, but it is most important that they have a strong financial and analytical skills, and they could understand how projects and programs can contribute to meeting the strategic goals. So again, as I mentioned, this will be the common programs in IT field. So infrastructure. So when we say infrastructure, again, the IT department often has a program for IT infrastructure projects. So under this program, there could be several projects such as providing more wireless internet access, upgrading hardware and software, and developing and maintaining corporate standards for IT. While for application development under this program, there could be several projects such as updating an ERP system, purchasing a new off-the-shelf billing system, or developing a new capability for a customer relationship management system. And for the user support, in addition to the many operational tasks related to user support, many IT departments have several projects to support users. So for example, there could be a project to provide a better email system or one to develop technical training for users. So this will be the project management compared to project portfolio. Again, for project management, more on tactical, while project portfolio management, more on strategic goals. So IT project portfolio, we have the venture. So of course, when we say venture, the project in this category would help transform the business. So an example, the large retail chain described in the opening case might have an IT project to provide kiosks in store and similar functionality on the internet where customers and suppliers could quickly provide feedback on the products or services. For the growth, project in this category would help the company grow in terms of revenues. And for the core, the project in this category must be accomplished to run the business. So an example of a project portfolio approach. So as I stated earlier, the overall project portfolio categories, we have the marketing, the HR, the IT, and the materials. Then for us to value the timing and risk, no, we have the discretionary cost for venture in growth and non-discretionary cost for core or running the business. Okay, this will be the sample project portfolio and management screen showing project health. So we have the work ID in the project itself. Then the role of project manager again, financial service firm and non-profit consulting firm. Or you will be possibly a project manager for a consulting firm. So the project management team understand and use expertise in the following. If you wanted to be a project manager, you need to understand fully the project management body of knowledge. You will be able to apply the knowledge, standards, and regulations, the environment knowledge, the knowledge and skills of the general management, and the soft skills or human relation skills. Because sometimes, for example, if you are the project manager and you are handling thousands of people, oh my God, it's too hard for you to communicate again with different individual differences of your staff or your team members. This will be the 10 most important skills and competencies for project managers. Again, if you wanted to be a project manager, you need to possess all these qualifications. Okay. There are some say, how do we differentiate a leader to a manager? Okay. So a leader, a person who focuses on long-term goals and big pictures objectives, who will inspiring people to reach these goals. Again, a leader inspire people to reach these goals. Well, a manager, a person who deals with the day-to-day details of meeting specific goals. So the management, of course, as what we have here, and a leadership. So when we say management or task-oriented, when leadership, people-oriented. So skill-based. In leadership, we need to consider the attitude, rational thinking, but you need to consider in behavior in a leadership. So you will be able to distinguish the difference between management and leadership. So again, this will be the top information technology skills needed. Okay. Imagine you need to be more flexible enough. No? So you need to good also in IT finance again, IT human resource, website development, security, application development, and others. No? So history of project management again, Gantt chart again. Then in our Gantt chart, we provide milestone, right? Then critical path method, so also known as critical path analysis. So a project network analysis technique used to predict total project duration. So then the critical path is the longest path through a network diagram that determines the earliest completion. So again, this will be an example of a network diagram. Okay, how about the improvements? The reason for the increase in successful projects vary. The average cost of a project has been more than cut in half. Better tools have been created to monitor and control progress, and better skilled project managers with better management processes. Okay? So you need to have a better skilled project managers with better management processes. Why the improvements? Of course, despite that these improvements, the 2004 survey showed that IT project success rate had fallen from 34% to 29% in 2004, and failures had increased from 15 to 18%. There is still room for improvement because nobody could able to develop a software automatically 100%. No? So what the winners do? Use integrated project management toolbox, grow project leaders, emphasizing business and soft skills, develop a streamlined project delivery process, and measure project health using matrix. So what are the best practices? Optimal way recognized by industry to achieve a stated goal or objective. So we need to study, no, the industry. So the best practice secret is stretching to learn from the best of the best in any sector can make a big vision more likely to succeed. Of course, measurable standard for best practices is also important. So based on Robert Buttrick, okay, author of the project workout, he suggested that organizations need to follow basic principles of project management, including some discussion earlier. Okay, so engage your stakeholders. Ignoring stakeholders often leads to project failures. Always communicate with your stakeholders, na? Be sure to engage stakeholders at all stages of a project. So this approach is for agile, right? Because we wanted to engage our stakeholders anytime. So the ethics in project management, take note, treat the money like it's your own. So if you are going to develop a software in your company, you make a financial decision as if it were your own money. You always make the best decision you can for your client. So you need also to have a care for community. So you provide Apex a diverse range of stakeholders. Na? Know who they are and how you'll change their lives. And know who you'll explain your project to your families and friends. Account for the full product life cycle, of course. And do the best you can first time around. Because personally, I believe that first impressions last. Deal fairly with your suppliers, of course. Sometimes, the price, for example, of a computer is 50,000 per PC. Then during the transaction, you ask to half the price. No, deal fairly. No, you need to deal fairly with your suppliers. Honesty all the time, because never lie by omission, never lie by vagueness, never lie by delaying, never lie by clutter, never lie by jargon. The totality, never lie. So the golden rule, don't just treat others how you want to be treated. Treat them how they want to be treated. Actually, I'm not 100% agree with the click goes like customer is always right. Sometimes, if we have for example, in software development, there are certain cases that we are knowledgeable enough on how we'll be able to do a project fitted to her or to his task, right? Then help others along. Okay? Projects are not just delivered by teams, they are delivered by communities, workforces, and profession. So you have a place in these groups. There is always someone to learn from and someone to help along. Share what you know and receive help when you need it. Okay? And this will be the references of our chapter 1 discussion. So